Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to Prime Hour, the first for this week. We are sorry for the late start. This evening, we're going to be looking at the release of former Energy and Water Minister Basil Atangana Kouna, who was released after 4 years of detention. That was on Friday, and his release has sparked calls from other areas across Cameroon for the release of their brothers also who are locked up in Kondengi. Precisely, the youth from the northern part of Cameroon are asking for the release of their brothers, former Fecafoot president Iya Mohammed, also calling for the release of former CRTV general manager Vamoulke, as well as former minister of territorial administration Marafa Hamidu Iyaya. What are we going to be understanding from these calls, as we also note that some persons from the northwest region are asking for the release of former director of Chantier Naval, Zacchaeus Afonjeda. With time permits, are also going to be looking at the second topic, which has to be discussing on the opposition in Cameroon. Is it too early for them to start knitting a scheme together for preparations for the 2025 presidential elections? We know that in Nigeria, before the current President Buhari came to power, the opposition actually came together for a coalition 3 years before presidential elections. What are Cameroonian opposition parties still waiting, or are they working behind the curtains? It's going to also be part of our discussion this evening with Dr. Ako John Ako. He is a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon. Good evening, Dr. Ako, and Happy New Week.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine once more. The first day of August, first day of the week, being equally on Prime Hour, on my media Prime TV. It's always a pleasure equally to meet the fervent audience, the followers, and those who support the good deal for Cameroonians to think and see reason that there's a need for more vibrant and young Cameroon. There is a need for equity, there is a need for justice, and that if clemency is granted to others, there is equally that need for all Cameroonians to benefit from the golden pen. In fact, the golden decision of the prince, the king, and the leadership that be in Yaoundé. It is time for us to equally think that 40 years after, we still believe that Cameroon is dangling and still intervening. In fact, the executive still giving orders to the judiciary. The judiciary was thought to be an independent organ in a more functional, more democratic, and more vibrant system where we think people reason in the same light. People reason that the nation belongs to all, and that those who are considered enemy to the state, those who embezzle state funds, those who hijacked state property to be theirs, they must receive the full strength of the law. Time and again, we have realized that the strength of the law is always positive for those who are further from power, and that for those who are closer to it, the law at times can bend, the law at times can swingle his part and give reasons why such people should receive liberation or receive the clemency of the king. Okay. Cameroonians have to learn that a good justice system, the judiciary in Cameroon, still remains one of the most corrupt, and then the executive too is not supporting or doing good for that to become one of the most brilliant we might have wished for a nation like Cameroon. Okay.
Good evening to you, Congo Robinson, and to you, Bowie Francis, Claude Andor, Claudine Ike. Good evening to you, Waze. Good evening to you, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Glad to have you once again.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Leo, and good evening to all the viewers of Prime Hour. You will permit me to say a big thank you to the population of Njinicom, whom with us together came to wish a farewell to my grandmother, and that was a success, especially to the staff of the St. Martin de Porres Hospital in Njinicom. I'm equally glad to send out my greetings to my class 5, my class 6, and my class 7 teachers in those days. That is Reverend Pastor Francis here, the pastor of Grace and Truth Baptist Church, Jinkwe, in Bello, who happened to be a fervent fan of my media Prime, not to talk of Prime Hour. It's always a pleasure to be on your platform and to note that the population is feeling the services that you people have been rendering to them. You will be surprised to know that my media Prime is no longer the candle that can assist. It is that the light that even under the beds in the northwest and southwest regions, you cannot hide it. So the light is on the top of the mountain. It has been lit, and I hope it keeps shining.
Okay, you hope it keeps shining. We also hope same. We are also in the company of Paddy Asanga, who is going to be coming in from Germany. He's a militant of the Social Democratic Front and a fervent activist for One Cameroon movement. Good evening, Paddy Asanga, and welcome.
Yes, Leo. Evening, Leo. Good evening, Dr. Akko. Good evening, son Emmanuel. And good evening to Sylvanus. I think it's already on your back. You know, Leo, my media Prime, it to me like a child that is growing up because he doesn't have a voice. And this child called my media has grown up to those of us on the phone who have been marginalized in the system, those of us who are not Anglophone Jacobites, those of us who think about what Cameroon of the of Cadillac, of Ferry, one year and one Cameroon, temporaries like Lake Cadillac and Chairman Fundi. I'm happy that people have grown up and articulate their aspirations and contract our business as Anglophones. I'm very grateful for your Tatambe, Brian, and yourself, who is the Director General or the Managing Director of my. I will always be my voice when on this service. Thank you and very much. And I want to.
Okay, Akko John, Dr. Akko John Akko, I'll start with you on this discussion for tonight. Your reaction when you got information that the former Minister of Mines and Water, Energy and Water, when you heard that he was released on Friday, July the 29th, 2022, he got into prison in 2018. It is reported that he paid back a sum of 1.265 billion francs CFA. Reason why he was released, the orders of the Special Criminal Tribunal. You felt that Cameroonians have been clamoring for these guys to pay back the money he has paid back and released?
Yeah, you see, it was not his release that caused my attention. It was the letter from the President of the Republic. That particular letter was written by the Secretary General to the President of the Republic, informing or transmitting to the Minister of Justice, which is calling the Minister of State in charge of justice, that in the person of Laurent Esso. And we think and start thinking that when the judiciary can receive instruction from the executive, we were thinking like maybe the chief judge at the same time at the level of the Special Criminal Court was going to devour or to violate such orders, but it works the same. It will mean somewhere that the state of Cameroon still does not believe in the system that it has implemented, in fact, with the New Deal government for over 40 years. That the head of state does not believe in the competence of the judiciary, and that the judiciary does not even have power. That is one of the things which caught my attention. This equally gives us the idea that the head of state, which we said is the most powerful figure in Cameroon, once again portrayed that in fact, before the international community, that Cameroon does not have a judicial system, and that the judicial system in Cameroon is a failed system, and everything in Cameroon can only be positive, done so in the name of the President of the Republic. So the Minister of Water and Energy, once considered as one of the greatest embezzlement scandal in Cameroon, was released by the clemency of the head of state and not the clemency of the judicial system, which again will articulate in other dimensions that those who were saying several times that the chief orchestrator of the poor governance, the bad system we have in Cameroon, is orchestrated in Yaoundé. In the second light, if we are now saying that people can steal, people can embezzle, then if they pay back the money, they will release them. Everybody can now embezzle. If that is the case, what becomes of those who have been proposing to pay? I remember some time ago, people were saying that the East Michel Fossos and even the Front Kingdom has once promised that they will pay what they have been charged for so they can have their liberty. But again, the state has never adhered to such plight. Cameroonians, yes, those who are fighters of bad governance, those who are within the civil society activists, myself inclusive, have equally been saying that it will not be positive for us to keep people behind bar because they embezzle and without really collecting back what they stole. And if today it is at this level, we first of all ask, was the auditing of such establishment properly done? When we see the outcry at Kamwata, when we see the outcry at the ministry, does it mean that what was just embezzled is 1 point something billion? It is shocking for some people and personnel of that department are still believing that the payment was poorly done and that the amount claimed is far lesser than the amount that has been missing within the coffers of that particular ministry. Cameroonians need to be informed. How much was he being charged? How much has he paid? And how much are we waiting? It is, again, one of the trials moments in the history of this nation that people too who feel that they should be treated and given the same advantage. In fact, we cannot really, it is shocking that some died in hospital beds still being under police or prisons or military custody. It is not done. Some people ask for medical treatment abroad, others have never been accorded, others have been accorded, and it gives us the feeling, just imagine again, for those who are fighting for the rights and marginalization of the Anglophones. You can't forget about that. Those who simply march on the streets were arrested. Some ended up dying. Others are still in prison for not even killing a soul. And now we have the right, we have the power to free others who have been considered criminals to the state, who steal state money. And then when they are liberated, we could imagine the joyous moment in their compounds. We can imagine how the families and everybody feel relief. That is the same feeling that other Cameroonians are thinking of having of their own people. Simple and mere journalists that were arrested during the crisis, they too need the same gesture of the head of state that will equally give us a more better understanding. Is there more to the release of this ex-embezzler, or it was simply the act of God that the head of state was inspired and spoken to his quiet ears by the forces of nature that this man should be released? Once you are a criminal, you remain a criminal. If that same right is to be granted for one person, then it can equally be granted to everybody. So let's look at the cases of those who are equally arrested in the same circumstance so that they can benefit in the same strength.
Okay, first reaction to the release. We saw videos of celebrations even at the entrance to the Yaoundé Central Prison and back at the home of the former minister. This should be actually a moment of celebration to the family and members of the community from where this minister hails.
Mr. Leo, this topic comforts my position on and my media outing in 2019, when I actually said, and I'm going to repeat tonight, Cameroon is the only planet on earth where thieves, criminals, murderers are celebrated. They are promoted. They are glorified. Some of them, they only lack the means to be canonized as saints. Cameroon is the only country where that person who steals plantain because he is hungry is taken to the prison. But the person who embezzles state funds, who is a big thief and at the same time a murderer, I will explain why I call them murderers. we should shift from calling them state thieves, state criminals, to state murderers. Atangana Kouna Bazil stole money that was enough to supply electricity to all hospitals in Cameroon. People have been dying because of lack of electricity. He stole money that was enough to construct roads. People have been dying of accidents every day because we have death traps.
Do you have the figures that he was?
I am not the one who sentenced him there. We all know that he's a thief. And I am saying tonight that we have been so subtle, we have been so kind in calling them thieves. And so we are supposed to be calling them by the real names, murderers. Now, if you want me to give you the figures.
You are saying murders, but my media prime takes exception to that because we don't have proof that he killed somebody. You just make your
We have proof that people have died in hospitals in this country because they don't have what it takes to equip hospitals. But an individual will embezzle what it takes to construct more than 10 hospitals, Mr. Leo. We have proofs that people have died in road accidents in this country because roads have not been tarred. And an individual has that power to embezzle such amount, fabulous sums of money that could tar many kilometers of roads in the country. We have proofs in this country that children are learning under trees because there are no schools, there is no staffing, and there is nowhere for these children to go to. But an individual siphons state money, lives in a comfortable VIP prison cell, and one good day, the prince, like Dr. Ako says, or the God of the nation, deems it fit to free him. The criminal is walking the street while the innocent ones are languishing in prison. We have seen in this particular country where people who came out just to question the form of the state are in prisons. Some of them are even chained and to their hospital beds. Some have lost their lives. Some have disappeared. We saw the case of Wazizi. We don't know whether Wazizi ever stole money. We saw the case of Mancho BBC. We have a lot of them. Now, in a country where we all clamor for justice and peace, Mr. Leo, how do you explain that somebody who has indirectly embezzled the money that could save the lives of Cameroonians is walking the streets, drinking champagne with their family and friends, looking very fresh, more than you and I, who are out of the prison, and you say that we should not call him a murderer? I understand that is your moderation, but then we should also equally understand that those who have been fooling themselves for 40 years, saying that we have 3 arms of government in Cameroon, stop fooling yourself. This is a clear message that the president has sent across once more, that look, stop fooling yourself that we have the judiciary, we have the legislative, we have the executive arm. I am the one who has the knife and the yam. If I don't cut the piece to tell you to chew, you will not be able to chew it. We are shocked that he came out, and instead of the whole republic to rise up for this criminal to go back to the prison, people were celebrating. And people cannot be celebrating while others are wailing in the prisons just for a single crime that they asked for the form of state to be reviewed. And that is an act of patriotism comparable to the person who has embezzled money contributed by these people who are dying in prison today through their taxes.
Yeah, but before now, I know you said that instead of sending them to prison, they should recover the money. You have said that several years.
I have said it, and I maintain it.
Money has been recovered.
No. There's no proof. There is no proof that money has been recovered. Let's not be fooled. We are in a country where everything seems to be fake. Even our existence, you and I. Some people live in this country while others are just merely existing. We cannot show proof that the money has been returned. So let me tell you, that you mentioned,
how will you ever be convinced that money has been paid? You want something public?
We want public accountability. The country is a public space. It is not run like somebody's private institution. So when it is to be public, make it public so that we become convinced. Before you take the microphone, there is a famous Fonjindam in this country.
We're going to come to his case. Just go.
Yes, who was openly declared by the president, not you and I, as one of the best GMs Cameroon has ever had. What happened to him? Do you want to tell me that in his case, he was unable to pay back the money to be released? We know of the case of Haman Adaman and how it went. like you said, the program is still very pregnant.
2014, she was released because she said to have paid back the money. Ndip Tambe Ebot, good evening to you. Chisab, good evening to you. Gilberto Solo, Salo, and Fidel Neba, Mark Bonga Man, and all of you guys watching on our social media handle, Facebook precisely. Good evening to all of you. Paddy Asanga, your first take on the release of former Energy and Water Minister. You've listened to Dr. Ako and Ndiwum Emmanuel. Do you think it was best to also at least release him after returning what is said to have been stolen from government as a way to inspire others to return their stolen money for their release also?
You see, my brothers have spoken, and I think that, and I will be blunt, say, and permit me not to be politically correct in what I say on your platform. You see, we have the case of Fonjindam. What is Fonjindam doing in prison? How much money Fonjindam embezzled? And what was the state of Chantier Naval when Fonjindam was picked up? Fonjindam as an Anglophone who was upright and was a threat to the system and did everything to enhance him, and he is there. And today, we don't know why Fonjindam is still there. And on the effect, we don't know what is happening. Some lead and to go and treat themselves. What is their faith? What are we talking about? We protect ourselves. Now, come to your question. Atangana Kouna, when I went to prison to visit the Abaka boys who are in jail, I saw him in his suit, just like I saw him celebrating in a very luxurious environment. People him. He met the name of Chantal, the lady, that she was the one who everything that would be released. Who is going to be next to be released? Because Chantal identity or no political position or no political powers, no executive powers to order somebody. That's the question that we're asking ourselves. Because the video you people are talking about, we all watch these videos, and I did not hear them say that, oh, it was Sabia, they said it was Tanzania. Where are we heading to? We should be talking about those things. The issue here is power has been consecrated. It is a loophole that this whole issue of embezzlement or special tribunal, they call it criminal special, it's a political tool. And I read somewhere that Atangana Kouna was just there in prison to posture and to in other people to give money or to show, to demonstrate the magnanimity of Mr. Bia. But from all the videos that what it's becoming very clear that Atangana Kouna was released because of proximity with Chantal Bia. To be able to say that, what is the role of the Minister of Justice? As your co-panelists have just said, just Cameroon, not independent, and I want to say that in all post-colonial countries, post-colonial systems in Africa, the head of state is the last word, and he delegated somebody, and that person signs this. While we have people like accountability was calling for school release, for school retention. We have people, we have uncles who are in jail, and because all youth, the release of police Camto, why did other uncles who are here? We need an uncles president and get a system to be able to manage our living together. Anybody who thinks that I should not be talking about on the phone, then that person, if he is not a friend, if he's not a village, it's right to be respond in a language not a phone, and it's strict and can be read by 50% or 20% of Cameroonians. All so please let us, and I would want the colleagues, panelists who have brought here. Atangana has space, he's not supposed to be free. He's in jail. And I think that the case, and then we all come in the name of God, who would want to know exactly, and not thinking about video where we're dancing, celebrating liberation, saying that he was dancing without fear.
Paddy, your network has issues. You are talking and it's cutting. I don't know where the problem lies. If there is a possibility of fixing that, Eli, look into that. Now, Dr. Ako, John Ako, now the law, we may say whatever, but the law was used to release this minister. The law prevails. It's not as if this thing was acted from space. But instructions from the head of state could have also suggest that, okay, the head of state, after investigating or observing or receiving or looking into it, could have said that, okay, he has paid, but maybe he was also framed up.
No, but, yeah, what I want to say here, first of all, is for us to know that anybody can use the law.
Okay.
It's just like we have churches, we have pastors, we have evangelists. We equally have men of God who are from the underworld. At times you find even young men who chat women on the street, they quote the Bible. But that does not mean that they're getting closer to that girl that it was written and declared from the Bible. And so you find a lot of quotations that save people's interest in the law. But what we are saying here, if that law is properly applied. In fact, the President of the Republic is what we call the Chief Magistracy, the head of the magistracy in Cameroon. He is the head of the armed forces. The same President of the Republic appoints members to the Senate, meaning he is the general overseer. In fact, when you go to some Nigerians, they will tell you that it's the Oga Kpata of everything in Cameroon, which means that includes the court system. He has the power to do so, but it becomes so discriminatory, which is a principle of justice, that a right made or enshrined in the law that could favor other Cameroonians doesn't favor them, except when the interests, like you see, something very sensitive Paddy is raising, is the closeness of Atangana Kouna closer to the First Lady. And which means, for those who are not closer to the head of state, those who are not closer to the family of I don't know, the sovereign family, they might never receive such clemency.
Yeah, but we saw. Is it really clemency?
Yes, they call it clemency. I said it's clemency. When the president...
He paid back the money. We had the case of the former minister of basic education, Amana Dama, who was also released.
We are saying, is it a matter of payment of money? Remember, once a case has been tried by the court, there are always two forms of civil damages. In fact, the fine demanded by the court. If you are sentenced to 25 years and your fine is 50 million, that you pay first. And you have to pay the damages you have caused to Cameroonians. Let's count what 1.26 billion might have done to Cameroon. I don't think Atangana Kouna will be capable of paying that face value of what moral, financial, human stress, his embezzlement of money from state coffers can cost to Cameroonians. And secondly, his case was not decided on appeal. We were thinking that, to be honest, when you start stealing, you don't know how to steal again. It was just the normal that again, the lawyers of this particular council, I tell you the techniques within the law, that the lawyers would have filed for a retrial of this particular process, and knowing very strongly that later we may find him not guilty, and then the court can discharge and he's acquitted. But when you find the level at which we are now, that it was on instruction of the head of state, since the instruction of the head of state presently is being executed by the Secretary General of the Presidency of the Republic, meaning the manning, the processing, in fact, the language used, the words, the verbosity within this trial was the decision of the head of state. It simply transferred the aspiration of the President of the Republic to the Minister of Justice, who authorized. And when you get the decision, they said the College of Judges, they were all unanimous that it should be what? Released. Which means other Cameroonians could equally benefit from the same arm. That's what we are saying. And if we cannot, then it means the Cameroon judicial system is not only corrupt or corrupted by Cameroonians, it starts from the heads that bears the crown. And that the President of the Republic is one of those which cause more of the confusion we find in our court system today, which means some judges will have hands tied. The moment they find somebody that has link with the President of the Republic, the moment they find somebody that has a link with anybody, the minister, directors of huge or large state corporation, it will mean a judge will never be free again in his conscience to decide favor or to do a particular justice for the name of the people of Cameroon, because the preamble of the Cameroonian Constitution states clearly that justice shall be rendered in the name of the people of Cameroon, not in the name of a particular leadership, not in the name of a particular individual, not by portfolio, not by witches, but by the people of Cameroon. It should be.
Yeah, but the president has also some powers
I said he has some powers. These powers come, which I have called here clemency, and you don't want to accept that it's clemency. One of the audacity that the head of state is serving is the power of clemency. Let him just decide that since Atangana has spent 5 years, that all those who were in prison, who were sentenced for 25 or 50 years, we are reducing their prison sentence by 20 years. If it's reducing by 20 years, it will mean Atangana has said 5 years already. So all those who were condemned for 20 years or 25 years in prison, they should also move out. That would have profited him, who might have been talking something else here. Meaning, even those are brothers and sisters who have been in prison for the Anglophone crisis at the time Emmanuel Macron just left. He's promising that there is a need for re-dialogue. So it would have watered down a lot of tension in the country, not using a single pen to release a single individual. That very pen, what we are saying, the power of clemency would have been received by everybody who is in prison. We can get into that facts after fact, take the cases after cases. It is what we are saying. Remember in 2018, some people of the MRC party who had just the intention to march were arrested in their homes for not even coming out to march. Up till date, some are still in prison. Some were tortured, some even chained up and hooked up on hospital beds. This is the wicked demon, the occultic nature of the ruling system in Cameroon. Because you will not explain that somebody who came out to march is in prison for 4 years, and somebody who stole billion is released at the same extent.
Yeah, you could still make your point without those adjectives.
No, that is language. At times it is. At times you will find even Jesus Christ answered the Pharisees why he uses parable to talk. Is that when he talks in parable, the message goes further. I said this same pen would have still released those people in a lot of ways. To say, maybe now that we are talking, we wouldn't have been talking at Kouna, we might be talking of Macho BBC, equally being welcome in Abakwa. In the same way, because the Bamila people too will stand on the four corner, how can I call it? My phone coin. To receive Macho BBC and also flats and equally singing the name of the president within that same pen.
Okay, after his release, we have this communique which says Déclaration de manifestation publique, marche pacifique. Garoua 1, youths from Garoua 1 are the authors of this communique. I've just seen one this evening from the youths of Marwa 1. This is Garoua 2, but the youths of Marwa 1 also have deposited.
I've sent their own communique.
Yes, they've deposited something today requesting for a peaceful manifestation calling for the release of their brothers who are also locked up, including Marafa Hamidou Yaya, Amadou Vamoulke, and Iya Mohammed. Are they not trying to politicize this by this move?
The pen that released Atangana Kouna was a political pen. So if they are trying to politicize it, they are following that same political pen that released a criminal whom many Cameroonians have suffered from. You need to, let me remind you, Mr. Leo, I know you are a peace journalist. Maybe such words, these adjectives may pain you, but those who bear these adjectives are happy because we are defining them by their name. Let me tell you that Atangana Kouna was caught. Maybe you have forgotten so soon. He was caught disguised as a woman running into Nigeria, which means that from day one, he knew that he was a thief. Only a thief would be disguised to run away from his country of origin. This one, I hope you will not tell me that it's not a fact that can be verifiable. It's verified. Now, when you ask if they are not trying to politicize it, no, I think it is their right. That pen that single-handedly released just an individual has provoked the masses to understand that for all this while, the president knew it so well that within his whims and caprices, he could use a pen and release other political prisoners. Because to crown it all, those when you say they are politicizers, if I want to go by your question, it implies that they know, as some other Cameroonians know, that mostly those we have in prisons in Cameroon are political prisoners. Other reasons can only follow suit. But to this particular thief who was released, he had many charges on him. First charge, there was a recruitment in the water and energy sector before he went to prison. That came out, and 98% of the names came from his tribe. That was point one. Cameroonians agitated for so long a time before they started investigating him. There are other crimes linked to social life that will not go into it.
Yes, but we are talking about the Northeners. How do we understand this?
It is not only the case of Northeners. You are only reading the communique that Northerners have put out. But I want to tell you that other communities will come out. The Northerners are right, and I stand with them. They have my support. They have my. Why do they have my support? They have my support because they also need to jubilate. They also need to see their brothers and sisters come out like Atangana Kouna came out. Because comparatively, maybe to them, what their brothers and sisters did that kept them behind bars is maybe far lesser than what this man did. Mr. Leo, let me remind you that only what the people of the northern part of the country are going through can push them to come out with this communique. There is no potable water in the up north. People are dying of water-related diseases. He was water and energy minister. He had all these projects in his lockers. He never executed 10% of them. And today, the people, the Northerners are coming out. Very soon, I think the people of Northwest, the people of Southwest will also be coming out to ask for the release of their people. Because you cannot release one criminal and then you allow others to be there. It means that you are doing injustice to those you were supposed to do justice to them. If time has come for the president, I understand perfectly well that he is already maybe closer to his door out of Itudi. If time has come for him to appease Cameroonians, let him appease the whole of Cameroon. Let him appease everybody. Let that appeasement not be selective. It is this selective appeasement that will end up bringing problems to Cameroon.
Okay, that will end up bringing problems to Cameroon. Paddy, Asanga, you've read the letters from the Northerners. You think that is the best way? Is it possible for the divisional officers who have received these notification letters to permit these manifestations in Garoua and Maroua? asking for the release of Marafa, Hamidou Yaya, Iya Mohammed, and Amadou Vamoulke.
Yeah, but Leo, why I will not issue a complaint, and ask for the release of our own people, not even steal anything, but express their political views. What is watching them? An opportunity for pen, as brother Ndiwum is a pen, they take advantage of it. That's what it's all about. I'm not in, but I'm here to say. So I don't know if you are getting me. So I'm getting myself.
We are getting you, though the lines are not too clear.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, you heard it from another section, which is a reference to yours, that nous sommes les voleurs petits. It's a bit from God told you. They will not suffer the prejudice. Really, 1 billion 600 and something thousand millions, and he did not pay any interest for that. So what is he doing? So that gives a break, that gets freedom, that anyone go and speak as much as you can, so long as you are and you have to do with this law signed by the king to the Jacobine of it. Then you would at some time be released when you look at the insolent celebration in the vicinity where they were celebrating his. How many Cameroonians, how many businessmen who are paying taxes and getting what they call environment are the questions. And I think that the people of the Northwest and South have a genuine call to rise up and say that all their brothers and sisters who have been put in jail by GCS, what they call it, Tribunal Criminal Special, release also. People in the North are right, are doing. And so in that, we are not going to do selective justice because we have heard people who are in the system that they are things. They claim in the position of the what do you want me to do? You want me to be politically correct? I will not.
Thank you, Paddy. The sound system is still not the best. You say you are not going to be politically correct this day. Now, what the Northerners are engaging from Marwa, from Garwa 2, today we have seen those of Marwa 2 were also depositing. Is this going to cause others to possibly also request for the release of their own?
Yeah, in fact, in those who have done physics, we are always told that to every cause there is always equal and opposite reaction, which means that the decision made by the court will equally generate mixed feeling within the various loops and corners of Cameroon. One of the things we need now to see is the response of the President of the Republic, because most often than not, people have said he is the father of the nation and that he has the mandate to do what he thinks and feels better. What we are asking and claiming here from him is that when justice can go for one person, it should equally be that that same justice can be favorable to the others. One of the things which we have here, for those of us who are coming from the Northwest and the Southwest region, it is a humble plea that the head of state, President Paul Biya, should equally release our brothers and sisters, especially those who were linked to the Anglophone crisis in searching or seeking for peace in the two regions, and also one which we have called one of our own, which he once and ever claimed several times to be one of the best general managers within state corporations in Cameroon, from Jindam. If this can be as part of appeasing the population, why not? The justice system finally belongs to us and it is ours, and that justice is rendered in the name of the people of Cameroon, not in the name of a single individual. President Paul Biya has the mandate to make all Cameroonians equally feel at home. We should not feel like certain sons and daughters are more loved by the presidential largesse or the wisdom of the president than others. Other regions are equally and need to be favored. The worst still, if such a decision comes with somebody that was more closer to the president of the republic or his family, it becomes again very worrying that those who think they are Cameroonians, others still feel that they are more Cameroonians than others. It is again very sad that the various parts of the region, we have always and equally be having it very hard from the northern regions. They have Marafa Yaya, who is in prison. They equally have Vamoulke, a former GM of CRTV. Then that of Fekafoot, Issa Mohammed. We have a lot of them. Iya Mohammed. It becomes very, very funny that those people who equally have been approached on a lot of things, maybe they are equally in the position to pay back. What are they owing the government? Let us consider that justice can be rendered for all. And if they can pay at this very moment, when the state of Cameroon, in fact, the accounts are running very dry, a lot of people might be in the same position of paying. Can we equally provide them the same opportunity for them to pay that particular of the money? So which means those who have written from the north, south, east, and west, there is a possibility for them maybe to even contribute money for their brothers. They will equally be ready. And this will instead help to enrich the treasury of the state. If this is a favor that is being given to every Cameroonian, let all Cameroonians benefit from it. Mr. Marafa Yaya has been a victim of what we call the WikiLeaks network that he does some time ago challenge the presidency of Yaoundé. I have not heard how much is embezzled, and I don't know how much the government is claiming from him, but I think it is equally high times they should ask him if he has the money to pay. If not, all Cameroonians need to be informed. It's just like coming on the other side. We don't know how the money from Atangana was paid and how it went over. When it was the director of Vision Card, we saw writings and writings from one corner of the government to the other, how much is owing, how much is supposed to pay, how much is not supposed to pay, how much has he paid, how much was he owing us, how much is left. Cameroonians should equally be informed. There is no official communique on which account, who received this money, and when was that money deposited. We simply saw the decision of the head of state. There is a need, what we call information. Information is part of accountability in every state that has the principle of good governance within its management. Cameroonians need to be informed of how the government is being managed. It is not an individual property. It is a national treasure. How much was he owing? How much has he paid? How much has Cameroon government forgiven him for not paying? Because there's always some part two of what we call debt forgiveness. Can others be forgiven too? This is what we are asking. Otherwise, the next, we have 2025, which is not far. And one of the things I've been afraid with this nation is that from 2016 up to date, the country is on serious tension. And we don't need a lot of this tension again. I don't want to say it, but a lot of things happen. A lot of Northerners, some gain ministerial positions because they claim to stand for the name of one group, 1 million Cameroonians, Northern Cameroonians. They were appointed into top offices. Maybe it is another second stream for us to develop new Northerners. Those who will now be claiming for the release of those dignitaries from the north or their elites. They too will be appointed because absolute power, most often in Cameroon, will corrupt and will corrupt absolutely. We are just pleading that that particular gesture should try to quell down issues. If they are demanding for Vamoulke, Marafa, and the rest, it should equally apply to all Cameroonians, and that the right to clemency. Christmas is not far. It might be the New Year gift of the President of the Republic to all Cameroonians to lessen and weaken the tension that is presently boiling. We are already suffering a lot on the high cost of life, high cost of living. No government response. Prices in the market are jumping and skyrocketing on daily basis, weekly basis. We don't need a second political agenda. Some people will use this equally as an instrument to step into politics. The government needs to be very vigilant, and within its time, the country Cameroon needs to come together. So we need that humble pen of the President of the Republic to say hi for other regions and many other prisoners that might and should need his same favor.
Okay. Is that what you think? Are they not trying to politicize this? You say it is not a political.
If they are politicizing, they are correct.
Okay, you say
because it is a political pen. I repeat,
yeah,
it's a political pen that's signed for the release of this man. So if they are politicizing, they are correct. Okay. Remember that the real thieves in Cameroon are not even those moving with guns. They are in the offices in good suits, air conditions, and with pens.
So those moving with guns and
they are just those ones are just they are hungry people. The real thing,
they should be blessed. You think that they should be blessed? Yeah.
That is it's coming from
you. Do you have a problem? Yeah.
It's not for me. We have a country of 30 million plus population. Come to think of it, if one minister steals about 90 million, it means that if the resources of this country were to be equitably distributed, peace would automatically be in Cameroon, because each citizen in Cameroon will have at least 1 million and there will be remnants. So it means that it is high provocation for an individual to steal such an amount.
1 billion? 1 billion and each individual will have 1 million in Cameroon?
I said 9 million stolen by one individual. And I want to limit it. I want to limit it to the number of population that we are assuming that we are 30 million. If they were to share 1 million per each citizen, it means that each citizen will have 1 million, and then 60 million will be left over. That's a rough calculation. Then who cares Cameroon to the level where one individual embezzles even more than the amount of the money, more than the existing population, and then one good morning he's released, and you wonder we should be going to fax. We should no. I was not saying that we should.
1 billion. If you were to distribute.
We're talking of 90 billion. 90 billion.
He talked about.
I said 90.
Yeah, he was. I know he quoted.
You talk about.
Maybe I quoted it wrongly, but I meant.
But who stole 90 billion?
No, we are talking of all the money they have stolen.
We are talking about all the money they have stolen.
Okay,
He's not the only one.
Okay.
No, there is no minister in Cameroon who has not stolen. Even those who are still there now, they might be worse than him who stole yesterday, but they are still protected because of their political ideologies, at least as of now. But I know that one day they will come to book.
One day they will come to book. But what, according to you, should the President of the Republic do now that some persons are not too comfortable with this particular release? Because they're asking what exceptional has he done? Or is the fact that he has shown good faith that I'm returning the money, others have failed to do that?
Again, what I'm going to say, it is from me. I am a bona fide citizen of this nation. I canvass for justice every day, and I will say it clear. For me to be convinced, me, Ndiwum, that Atangana Kouna returned his money, there are a lot of things that should be done. And this is the view of other Cameroonians. In some countries, when you steal public funds, you are disgraced publicly. So, the accountability, like Dr. Ako John said a while ago, we know of a state, a media house in this country that there was a lot of problems there of late, and we saw communiques upon communiques justify each step of his case. That is exactly what we want to see in the case of such people. Since I am not for the fact that people should be sent to Konengi, where they are given ample time and enough tranquility to enjoy the money they have stolen for a long time, I want that the money should be recovered, and these same people can be given community labor in their different localities, with the rest under their properties confiscated by the state, Mr. Liu. That's one. Two, to answer your question squarely, I think the president needs to rethink, because he is part of the problem that the country is facing. I've often said, and people have always argued, the first problem of Cameroon is the president. Why is it the president? He allowed people for so long a time to master the terrain, and they knew where to enter and where to exit. When he started asking who sung the prayer, it gave them the opportunity, the audacity to steal and steal again. So, I repeat, if time has come for him to grant clemency, Let all those people who were arrested during the Anglophone crisis for just standing up and saying that there was need to go back to a federal state be granted clemency. Let our Cameroonian diaspora who live here because of political witch hunting equally be given clemency, Mr. Liu. It should not be selective. I think it is an opportunity for him to gain back the hearts of Cameroonians, both in the country and out of the country.
Which diaspora has been refused from coming back to Cameroon?
Oh my God, there are many of them.
Yes.
There are many of them.
Tell me some of them.
There are some of. Tell me the person that Bobga Harmony killed in Cameroon before running away. Was he not chased out because of the political upheavals in Norwest and Southwest? That's just one of the cases. Tell me the person that Wiba killed before he was being followed up from Cameroon. I have often told you people, Mr. Liu.
Okay, they were chased out of Cameroon. Is that what you are saying? Bobga Harmony was chased out of Cameroon?
But when there's fire behind your back, will you stand there, should burn you? Where was the fire coming from? The state, it was the place of the state to have protected some of them. But the state let loose and they disappeared. There is need this time to bring all of these people back together. And that simple pain can bring these people back to Cameroon. If actually the regime in Yaoundé wants a Cameroon for Cameroonians, not a Cameroon for a CBDM or for a particular people.
Okay, the Cameroon diaspora are only Anglophones, according by your judgment. Paddy Asanga,
I did not, Mr. Leo, please, before you give him the microphone, I did not call Anglophone diaspora. I said Cameroon diaspora.
Yeah, but I've asked for examples.
We have the Richard Bona. I don't want to go into the details of the case of Richard Bona, because very soon you will say he burned his Cameroonian passport. But can we go into the roots of what happened before he burned the passport? I am talking about Cameroon diaspora, not Anglophone diaspora. Okay. Let it be heard. I heard well.
Okay. Paddy Asanga, Ndiwum thinks that the president should not only grant clemency or pardon to those who are in prison, but to some of you guys out
there. Leo, I want to plant a premise. I want to use what people call a premise in technical language, what you call jurisprudence, to articulate and analyze what Ndiwum just said. Yes, it is true and it's right that the Cameroonian government think about granting clemency to all Cameroonians on condition that they pay. I want to believe that Atangana manifested some clemency to pay. And some Cameroonians in diaspora, like Serge and Ndiwum, they have manifested elements of good faith. There are people like Carol Bengham who went to break the embassy. They have manifested some elements of good faith because not everybody in diaspora is a thief. There are people who are there because of political opinions, and there are people who are because of political violence. And in every state, and this is one thing I want to say because I'm a political actor, I think that if I am in power, I would not like the state security to be jeopardized with, rather than I like the state funds to be jeopardized with. So those people should manifest good faith and they get clemency. What I'm saying is this order is collective and you saw those people who were celebrating at Atangana. They were not in the but those were benefactors of Atangana's crime. When you see people, Amber boys or whosoever being killed, being arrested, people go silent. But when they are people behind them, those are the collective people who were behind what Kouna was doing. And now, if has repented, if repents from his crimes, if whosoever repents from crimes like Nampere, and so even though they should be granted out, and that is why we are calling the full national that So this is where we stand, and nothing is going to. So we want to very understand that there are people who were in prison. He's not the first one who was released. How do you call him? The son of Foso Victor. Him. Yes, if Michel Foso, when it's Estimi Menye, when Jotne Ambassador, these are all people who stole. And how do you I'm doing in prison? Is Mancho Bibi doing in prison? So if the people are coming to protect their, we as Anglophone, we a colonial identity, we are not a tribe, which we stand on our own. And we are saying that the whole situation is concocted and propagated and cautioned by Mr. Duke, because he created the KCS, what they call tribunal, to use it as where they released Michel Atangana and so we should not get the contemporary to pay and go to Mancho PC has no place in it. When they come for school boycotts, he can pull up. Mr. Alex listed the flag of Cameroon, but he can come out of Cameroon. They went and burned, attacked the embassy, destroyed, go and come out. So I said the Prime Minister who has been neglected, maybe because he's an who everything, so that they are sitting in the cabinet to come and say, yes, what the idea are when I'm doing what I was doing. And if you have pardoned people who have cut head, have killed 3 men, who have stolen money like Atangana, then the bad whom I met and give them a friend of should be also pardoned. That's what you here to romance anybody. I'll give Cameroon to that point, because I don't see why Kouna would be up celebrating luxurious villa, and then some people who just out of anger, emotions, went to the embassy, everybody what they did, and then they to come to Cameroon because they have attacked or they are in fact. That's what they are saying.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think we'll enough this time.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Leo. Special greetings from this end for the wonderful job you and your panelists are doing. More grace to your elbow. It's Fred writing from Tabesi, quarter mile 2 Nkwen. Good evening to you, Fred, and to you. Good evening. I really enjoyed the analysis and courage of your panelists. I pray God protects them. Chi Orlando from Gambetika Center region. Mr. Liu, I really wish the President of the Republic should take but just decisions on prisoners, especially Kondengi Maximum Central Prison. Francis is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all in the studio. I wish you should allow the panelists to air out their minds and the people to the world to hear is out. Okay? Mr. Liu and co, please, Mr. Liu, allow the competent people to educate me more on embezzler's field. Ben Salif is writing from Boya. Ben Salif, good evening. Hello, Mr. Liu. There are too many wrongs in that procedure. If the keeper of the seals needs the president to remind him what says the law, that the minister is not able to fully carry out his duty. Max Beguni is writing from Dusseldorf in Germany. Greetings to the panelists. God Almighty should come to the rescue of Cameroon. Divine BC Cape Sene, writing from Moliko Boya. Good evening, sir. I'm Terence from Yaoundé. Please, the sound quality from Germany is not the best, okay? Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Julio Mbwe following the program. Please, I like the volume of Dr. Ako and Ndiwum, for they are directly on track. More grace, sir. Okay. Doctor, you people are making me happy tonight. Janet is writing from Bafoussam. Good evening to you, Janet. Nemo Bisong says, really doubting this country. How can he be released but no accountability about the money? Nemo Bisong, writing from Cap Cameroon. Good evening, Mr. Leo. And the great men in the panel. I don't have much to contribute, but just to let people know that there are some owners of Cameroonians and others are tenants. Ns Ekane, writing from Tombell. Good evening to you, Ns. Good evening, panelists. The topic is quite sensitive. This is MMB from Kumba. Good evening to you, B. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I wish to thank the barrister and some of the panelists who uphold the dignity of true Cameroonians. If these millions embezzlers could be set free, please, can my junior brother Mancho BBC, Fonjindam and all Anglophones in prison be released? Mancho BBC needs his son. Mas Siri is writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Mas Siri. Now, how do we get others released? Should communities organize to lobby, or how does it happen?
We don't need to mobilize. We don't need to mobilize. Since we stand for the audacity of truth, if we need to stand for the state of Cameroon, we need to put the state to be accountable. People should be accountable for their offenses. And we are just begging, not like, because we will not advise Cameroonians to mobilize. The fact mobilization in Cameroon has created a lot of pains to this country than any other aspect of social life. It is a right within enshrined within the Cameroon constitution. Cameroon, a member of the United Nations, has signed and ratified the Universal Declaration on Human Rights and Freedom. Civil rights or civil activities are equally enshrined in that particular law, and that Cameroonians have the right to manifest, to publicly come out and maybe claim what they think is not. But we have seen that several times, how violent this particular right has been. A lot of SDF members were shot on their legs with bullets. Others of the MRC party have been in prison. Others, just aspirant to become political contenders, have been frustrated to their own self, It is again something we are saying, that the state that be should manage Cameroon as an institution, that as a country that belongs to us all, and not for just particular individuals. If we say the country should start mobilizing, it is the same stress we have seen with the mobilization in the creation of some institutions and infrastructure in around the Cameroon. We have realized that some of such infrastructures have never seen the light of the day. Many will tell you that schools have been created in their villages, but the villagers have been stressed up to see that such a secondary school goes into action. Such a secondary school is constructed. It is still the stress of the villagers that such institutions are built. So we come out to realize that really at the center of all this animation is the leadership, and that the leadership which has that particular power can do it for all Cameroonians. Let Cameroonians, if you see the celebration, I mean, what people gathered in front of the Kondengi maximum prison, and how many were at the courtyard, how many waited for this minister in their home back then, in that villa, you can imagine what other Cameroonians and the pains they are going through with their brothers who have been held under their consciences. For somebody claiming that their town is not well governed, for somebody claiming that have been sidelined or left behind, for some people claiming that the taste of power is not what they like, and that they have ambition of leading Cameroon tomorrow, that they want to be. Remember, there is what we call the grand honors. A lot of those people have been frustrated. Can we give Cameroon, can we make Cameroon a lively environment for everybody? Not everybody can withstand the pressure of the head of state. Some had died before now in prison. Can that even transmit us a message that serving the nation is pride, but leaving the nation in pain makes it awful? We need to look to some extent that if the law can answer for one person, I insist, then it can answer for everybody. This is what we're needing. And if people need to come out tomorrow, remember, we are in some places and some environment today where the government does not just want to see 5 people gather. And if we have to come out to write even a common letter, those who have been indicted in such a letter, be very careful of what becomes of you. We know the system in which we have been embedded in. We need that the wisdom of the head of state should be transmitted to favor all Cameroonians. Like Mr. Ndiwum said, it is a political decision, and let the political decision touch every other Cameroonian. If it is time for clemency, let's give clemency to all. If it is a process that once you have been accused of and that you pay, you'll be set free, let other Cameroonians benefit from this same gesture. It cannot be for Cameroonians to start risking themselves because we have some, I call them, those military hooligans, brutal regime we have constructed that they don't even know what we call a civil protest, that people cannot march. The moment people come out to march, they'll be slaughtered, they will be beaten. Others will receive live bullets. So we cannot say people should go out or write letters, because even writing a letter in Cameroon is a crime. We don't even know where it's going to end. We don't even know where those who will even ignite at the center of those letters, we don't know how they will end up. So we are trying to beg on the President of the Republic, that his conscience should be the conscience of all Cameroonians, and that all others, like Fonjindam, the Macho BBC, and many others, should receive the same power.
Okay. The military is a core. It is true that we have some elements who go against professional ethics like any other profession. We also find them in the military, but I am sure you and I are sleeping peacefully in Douala because of the security that is available. So we will take exception to that general description of military brutal and
Mr. Leonard, I know you will not like to enjoy it, but honestly, Mr. Leo, honestly, when you march in the military like that in Ouagadougou, when Blaise Compaoré was ousted, it was not the same military that we witnessed in Algeria when Bouteflika was ousted. It was not the same military brutality we received in Egypt when that particular leader was ousted. It was not the same military in Tunisia when Ben Ali was ousted. Why is our own military an exception? That every time citizens demand, the demand of the citizens is the demand for all, but individual bullets is a decision of a single person.
Misako, thank you for making your point. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Cameroon headed by the executive and not any arm of government. Erasmus is writing from Ngaundere. Okay. Please, you who is calling since, stop calling. I can't take a call. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and your wonderful panelists. I want to thank Dr. Ako for speaking the truth as well as educating the public. NX is writing from Bambalan. Okay, we missed the Bambalan Fisher. No way to get them now. Good evening to you all. I'm Nzo Zeka Etienne writing from Bamenda following the program. Good evening to you. Mr. Liu, please, for Dr. Ako John's number, write to me after the program. I will share his number with you. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. I'm Etienne from Bamenda following the program. Thank you, Etienne. Okay, this one is for Barrister Bala. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and the topic today is very interesting, but need time. Bring a French person. Let's hear from them also. Abon Ezekiel, writing from the Kingdom of Bahrain. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The sound system of the speaker on the line to Germany is not good at all. Truth is writing from Yaoundé. Hello, Mr. Kum. Greetings to you and the panelists. I'm Mr. Kavu, writing from USA. This question is for you, the journalists. Why don't you journalists book interview with government officials, especially the president, about pressing issues? You interview people whom we all know have good opinion, but no or less power to make changes. At least we can hold them by their word later when you journalists interview them. Situation like this one, who have interviewed the one who released this in Basla. On which term was he released? Where is the money returned? What is the money used for? These are the questions we Cameroonians need to know, and you, the journalists, have the right to interview them in this regard. Thank you very much. We will endeavor to have them answer to your questions. Okay. Now we move straight to our second topic for tonight, which has to do with the opposition and coalition. Is it too early for the opposition in Cameroon to start working for a coalition in Cameroon against 2025?
Masalio, it is sad. You know, each time such a topic comes up, I feel like crying. Why do I feel like crying? I feel like crying because I have struggled to look at how politics is done in other countries in the world and also in other countries in Africa. And I've come to the understanding that politics in Cameroon is very unique. The type of politics that is being done in Cameroon can only be understood by Cameroonians. Why do I say so? When politics is a science that gives power to people to manage and develop the people and their different states. But in Cameroon, people have taken it otherwise as a science that gives individuals the opportunity to, you know, develop themselves, and it's all about self-interest. If not, this question we are asking today is this is a question that would have been asked many years ago. And if that question was asked many years ago, and the people listened to that question and took it into account, knowing that in politics, when you want to become a leader, you become a leader because you want to lead a people. And when you want to lead a people, you consider the interests of the people first. You put the people first. Our politicians in Cameroon, sorry to tell you, have not yet reached that point where they can consider the people first. When a politician considers his people first, he can even take a bullet for his people. Tell me how many politicians in Cameroon can take a bullet for the common man. Tell me how many politicians in Cameroon can decide to write their names in the golden book of Cameroon history by standing to fight the barbarism that our people have been going through. They only come with slogans, Operation 11 million, Operation this. When you give them one little post, they go solo, and the population is left to suffer. When it is at the event of an election, that is where they will go, they will look for Maggi, they will look for rice, they look for bread and sardine, they come and fool the people. Immediately they get into a post of responsibility, they no longer talk politics. They become business people, they become contractors. At this point, we can say with certainty that the politicians in Cameroon are for their self-interest, not for the people. That is why there is a lot of constraint for them to come together as one person to fight the common enemy, which is the ruling party. When I say enemy, enemies should not be understood in a different sense. They are in a battle, a political battle, and in this battle, there must be a winner and there must be a loser. Now, they have succeeded to put Cameroon where it is because they have been in dispersed ranks for a very long time. And the question is, for 40 years, they failed to learn to come together. Can the period between 2022 and 25 make them come together? The answer to me, I think it is no. Because even as of now, they are becoming more divided by the day than they were yesterday.
Okay, they are becoming more divided. Is it too early, Paddy Asanga, to start talking about a coalition against 2025?
Leo, try to I brought Ndiwum, who had cost of designation, come out here as a member for the coalition for change, National Assembly, Union, that's the coalition thing. And we cannot feel in Ndiwum talking as some, and he wants to prevent the bill. There is a time in the history of Cameroon where all politicians and designated candidates who represent them, and that was 1990. I want to plant that petition for a reason, because if we want to get into this politics of reason and where the woman coming from, then I get to know who just complaining, and as they say, they don't back and they transform it. Now, how do we start politics from income? We have to find a rhetoric that unites everybody. And the rhetoric that was valid in 1992 is valid today. We talk about federalism and colonial products. So we cannot pretend to politicians don't know what to do. You have to associate politics and politicians who are appointed. They will start because they are appointed. Create that dichotomy and get the majority of who stand for a federation, who stand for a total picture, a centralized Jacobin system. We are saying that what was yesterday is bad. What was yesterday? He came with the Union for Change. Bet you, politics is anticipation, and you have to understand CDF has a leverage because it is a state party. Just they represent you and what the Anglophone do also present against their so that we could transition. Our program that those that release people are geometrical variants, but we should say that we want a system that the judiciary would not have anything to do with the legislative, as we are seeing today with the case of Atangana, Kouna, and the rest of the people. So the opposition would have to come together to find a candidate to face the Anglophone candidate, because it is very clear that most Francophones who are of honest and are mindful of the what we are going through, they want an Anglophone candidate as the president of Cameroon with a federal system. I hope you are getting me, please.
Yes, clear. It's clear now. Hello? Okay, Paddy, we just lost you. I don't know who was talking behind you. Now, the opposition, what should they be seen as doing now with respect to preparation for 2025?
Yeah, in fact, it is a representative of what the topic is standing for. Mm-hmm. Every Cameroonian will expect a very powerful coalition of all opposition parties in Cameroon. But that notwithstanding, we need to know equally the suffering of the opposition parties we have had in Cameroon. A lot of them are created from tribal lines. Others are created to defend what they are eating. Others are created from the presidential palace. Others are created within the same ruling party. So at times we find opposition within the opposition. Then you find opposition of a ruling party coalition. And we have seen that. Before the elections in 2018, we realized that there were some people, they called themselves the Grand Vin. And so they were the Big 20. After them, we find some opposition group of young leaders, they call them the G35. And this is what will you tempt now? While we are crying for opposition parties to get into coalition, you find oppositions, ruling parties, opposition parties forming their own coalition. It becomes difficult for us to manage a state where corruption has embedded until the citizens don't even know where to go. And within it, others will be appointed or appreciated at the end of the election. But this is very shameful because after this particular election, we have not seen cabinet reshufflement that has been like others. So people have been feeling that as they signed that letter of members of the coalition of Grand Vin and Grand Transcend, nothing has happened, and somehow almost waiting to in fact, the dryness of their saliva, others are still thinking that one day they will still be appointed. But today, we are thinking, I was not going to get deep to what Paddy just said. One thing I have said, and I will talk, is solidarity, a coalition for the solidarity of all Anglophones, a coalition for solidarity of all Anglophones, considering that we have suffered a lot and that there is need for us to create a solidarity among ourselves. There will be a more stronger solidarity among Anglophones than any other group. Is there a need for the emergence of a new leadership within the Anglophones? Because in the past, you realize that the same families being appointed as whether DM or as ministers, others as prime ministers, and when it goes this way, you find again the other struggle within the Anglophones. Can we quench our taste for division and look at what unites us? And that if Anglophones can come out with a single candidate, I'm telling you that even the quarters we have discussed, some Francophones are beginning to think that it is time for an Anglophone to become the president of this country. And sincerely, meaning, if the Anglophones can create their unity among themselves, then oppositions in Cameroon, why not? We can create a bipartisan affair, that there is a single Francophone party and there's a single Anglophone party with two candidates at the elections, and see if Cameroonians can make a choice. The issue of division, the issue of tribalism has divided the opposition in Cameroon. The aspect of opposition does not mean disunity, and that opposition can still stand. Like we have seen in the American election, like we have seen in the United Kingdom, that we have two major parties and the others can participate for legislative or council elections. But when it comes to presidential opinion, always the number of voters or candidates is highly limited. Can we equally help by the lawmakers of this nation that the constitution should streamline? How can a country of 30 million people have 365 political parties? What form of opposition? Doesn't mean that some opposition parties are created just to serve a family interest, because 365 is unheard of. And if Cameroonians are serious, we know that hunger crisis in Cameroon has created, in fact, hunger became a push factor for the creation of certain political parties. Some people who have never been heard wish to be heard. Some people who have never been identified wish to be identified. Is that identification the purpose of the nation? Opposition should be capable of saving interests. And I've said several times, if opposition parties are not to gain power, there is no need for registration as a political party. An opposition party must vie for election. An opposition party must seek of new ways of winning election, no matter what it takes. It will not be surprising that one of the most advanced democracies in the world, like the United Kingdom, is going in for 2 or 4 parties, and on the eve of election, then the United Kingdom, like the United States, with 2 major parties, it should explain itself that the opposition parties in Cameroon is simply a toothless bulldog. They make propaganda, and I don't know what for. They are arrested several times, and those who are arrested become celebrities. They are celebrated after they are released, because in real terms, there is little or no opposition in Cameroon. One time I heard my co-panelists Ndiwum describe them all as Njangi houses, where people have different interests at stake. And this is exactly the rule. If the opposition parties in Cameroon want to defeat Cameroonians' view of no opposition in Cameroon, is to form a coalition at this particular moment. We need a coalition with its leader, not opposition that comes out on the eve of election. A week to election, you start standing for coalition. To give what? What have you even worked? To vote where? Who will secure those votes? We need representation all over the national territory if you need to win election. Can a single opposition in Cameroon beg that he represents the whole or is present in all over the national territory? This is a fat lie, and we cannot do so. So one thing we need to know is that united we stand, divided we fall. Okay. That is the strongest instrument of opposition throughout the world.
Okay, Paddy, since your sound system is better, I fear that it may go off. Let me get back to you before Ndiwum comes in. Dr. Akko is going the same way you started, talking about the need for a coalition for an Anglophone president in the upcoming elections. Is that? Do you think that's the way to go? Also.
Yes, Leo, let me benefit the fact that you hear me. You have some problem connection with Germany. I'll waste time on that. At the beginning of this crisis, we were talking of an Anglophone caucus an Anglophone caucus was reflected by the Anglophone General Conference. That's why Dr. Monzo took that initiative and went to met all the parliamentarians of the Anglophone extraction to say that let's come together and go to the parliament and defend the Anglophone cause, because Anglophone is not a tribe. And I want every Francophone, they should stay away from talking about the Anglophone crisis, because Anglophone is not a tribe. Anglophone is a post-colonial identity. And if there is anybody who wants to challenge me, that person should write to me in my mother language or in his mother's language. And if I understand that, then I will tell them that Anglophones and Francophones are not existing in Cameroon. That is intellectual dishonesty. I want to plant that declaration first. But now, talking about the Anglophones coming together and forming an Anglophone caucus. Francophones, Mr. Biya, Francophone, Mr. Ahijo, Francophone, they have governed for almost 60 years. What is the result? Why don't we try the other option? There is none of the 14 countries in the Francophone regions which is a federation. So why don't we try that option? And the federation worked until Mr. Ahijo, because of the French assimilation process or idea, dissolved it with the complicity or not, with the naivety or not. That's a story for another day. I don't want to castigate people who went into something out of good faith. So where we Anglophones stand today, we stand a very good chance. Instead of castigating our Francophone brothers, we should tell them that we are going for a transition program where the Anglophone who, if they put an Anglophone on as a CPDM candidate, who will continue the same system, who will put an Anglophone candidate to face him. And if they put a Francophone candidate, the opposition selects an Anglophone candidate. And our program is a 3-year transition project that would lead us to a federation, because if we are working within the ambit of the current constitution, the only option is picking guns. And we see what picking of guns have led us to. The toll of suffering amongst our people in the northwest and southwest region is unbearable. There is no rechange camp. There is no country that is, as they say, there is an international conspiracy against the Anglophones, or I don't want to call it Ambazonia because I don't belong to that. Ambazonia has been declared by themselves as an evil something. So I'm not part of it, but there is the international community, Britain and France, they are together, and they say they respect the integrity of Cameroon. So what are we as a political entity doing in that extraction that we call Anglophones? We should put ourselves together and then sit down, evacuate the internal differences that we have. Anglophones killing Anglophones, Batibo massacre, Guzang massacre. What is happening? Black legs, red legs, green legs. What are we going to do? Mr. Biya has just deployed somebody in Bamenda. See what they are doing to those boys there. The results are alarming. So the roadmap is very clear. It is a political and a collective political conscience that Anglophones should use their anger against the system and create an Anglophone caucus within the assembly, or mobilize themselves and sanction the CPDM system. Many of our brothers who are within the CPDM government, they are sympathetic to the cause. But if you take them out of it, what are they going to do? Look at what our people have been doing in the diaspora. They collect money, keep them for themselves, insult themselves, set themselves up, set people's children to go and kill one another. And you think that somebody will come and adhere to a cause that is piloted by some scavenger in the diaspora to abandon his job as a policeman, as a military man, as a gendarme, for Sako, for Ayabacho, for whosoever. No, those people on the ground, they have the leverage, and they should put themselves together under the umbrella that His Eminence, led Cardinal Tumi, created, and then talk to themselves, and we should be taking injunctions from them and not we giving them injunctions. Leo, I think that That possibility is there. And the third republic, as a federal republic, which every francophone endorses it, would be well managed, and we'll get to that transition. We'll get to where we want to go in under an Anglophone president if we put ourselves together. And that's what Chairman Fundi, Cardinal Tumi, Agbobala, Dr. Monzo, Keremuna have been preaching. So we have to, whether we like it or not, we must sit out together and evaluate that question. Thank you, Leo, and thank you very much.
Okay, we're talking about what is actually being the expectation of the people with respect to the opposition. But when you read through, are there any signs that we're going to have a coalition before 2025?
Before I answer the question, it's good to note that we are in a one-party system in Cameroon. We have nothing as opposition. You know, I've been saying it and I maintain tonight. These Njangi associations that we have everywhere making noise, shouting is for nothing. Time has proven that in Cameroon, people speak when they are hungry. If you want to stop the noise, stop food into their mouth. Jean de Dieu Momo did it, it worked. The others did, it worked. We are living the experience all together. Now, to talk about a coalition, Mr. Leo, structurally, I will answer you that it's a farce. It's false. It will not work. Because we would have been talking about coalition if in the first place we had oppositions. Let me just give you a teaser. When President Emmanuel Macron was coming to Cameroon, you saw what happened in Yaoundé. Tell me one opposition leader in Cameroon that stood up to talk against the Franquist movement and the banners that were littered everywhere in Yaoundé. That was a time for the political leaders in Cameroon, if at all they actually existed and they're active, to have reacted. That was a stimulus, but they failed to this prey because they went all to their shells. And I was shocked. Talking about having an Anglophone president in Cameroon, I think that will be a thing for another century, Mr. Leo. I am not a prophet, neither am I a prophet of doom. But I want to think that it is far-fetched. When you look at the way Cameroon has been managed, if up to 2022, even a prime minister has no say, he's instructed, he's delegated by strings on what to say, what to do, where to go to. And then you are talking about having an Anglophone president. If Anglophone conference that my senior brother Paddy Asanga is talking there, it's an idea that everybody loved it to go through. If a mayor could stop it, what do you think will not stop somebody who wants to emerge as an Anglophone president in this country? Yeah. And again, even the names he mentioned there, he's mentioning names of very dishonest people. Let me tell you, when he talks about Dr. Munzu, I don't think the Anglophone community today can listen to Munzu. When the Anglophone, all Anglophone conference was stopped by the late mayor of Boya, I followed Dr. Munzu, who had resigned from that process on the grounds that his life was threatened. How far are you sure that in 2025 or 22, same people, their lives will not be threatened?
Yeah, but Dr. Munzu is somebody I've worked with for a very, very long time, and sincerely, I will not take it. I don't think I will really endorse what you are saying.
No, he's the one. I'm not the one who.
Yeah, you can't on this platform say Dr. Munzu is dishonest.
No, he said his life was threatened, and he abandoned the cause. Yes. How far are we sure that today, if that same cause is given back to people like them and the Agbobalas, they will not be threatened once more to abandon the cause? That's what I'm saying.
What cause did Agbobala abandon?
Mr. Leo.
No, I think
at times it's good.
What cause did Agbobala abandon?
It's good to give.
Agbobala is going to be. He's going to be on my guest on this show. I'll ask him what cause did he abandon? Please.
Well, we are talking about Anglophone communities coming together. You and I will agree that there are a lot of things we were still expecting from Agbobala, and he has not done it. A case in point, we have seen somebody molesting people in Boya. Agbobala, as a human rights lawyer, has never for once picked up that case to fight it. And I think that's one of the causes. But coming back to Dr. Muzu's case.
So you've not seen Agbobala castigate other actions? Just because of that one action, he's not a human rights lawyer?
That one action could be more dangerous than the one that you have been castigated.
Okay. My last question to you is, because we are here to clarify and give hope and solutions to people, that is the objective of this program. Now, you see, you don't believe in an Anglophone president in 2025. You say it's a far-fetched thing. You don't believe in the opposition. You say they are Njangi houses. You also don't believe in anything. Where should the solution come from?
I believe, when you say I don't believe in anything, anyway, it's your opinion. I have my things that I also believe in.
Okay.
I believe in Cameroonians of good faith. I believe in Cameroonians coming together with an objective.
Okay.
Not a group of people who do not have a clear objective. Because you will not tell me that, like Dr. Ako said a while ago, I have said in this your program that the objective of any political party is to take power. If you don't want to take power, you are a distraction to those who need change.
Dr. Ako, let me ask the same question I asked him. What should the opposition be doing? That was the question, and are not telling me whether if they are so helpless, what then are we doing on this platform? If we are helpless?
It is not, Mr. Leonard. We considered like the head of state. I mean, Joint President Pobia once said that Cameroon is in continuous construction, and that building institutions and building human beings is a continuous process. Somewhere the opposition parties have failed, but then there is always a reason, not why we failed, but several times when we fail, how much we can stand up and pick over from there. 2025 is announcing very hard, willing and wishing that the head of state does not stand again as a candidate. In fact, when he answered the French journalist that when that time comes, I am sincerely saying that it is time for him to get back to Vamoulke and become a consultant within the palace in Vamoulke, so that Cameroonians can have a new breed. A lot of opposition parties are thinking that the head of state standing as a candidate will still be a lot of fear. There are some people even from his own region. There are people within the CPDM party who want to stand as candidate for election. Oppositions cannot and only be what we think that should be President Pobia. We need a new candidate at the level of the CPDM to come forth for election. If you find a new candidate at the level of the CPDM, you are going to find a new spirit within Cameroonians to see who can really govern them, because somewhere President Pobia has played his ball very well. I said if there is a success, we can talk of the head of state, is the research on how to maintain in power, and he has done that correctly for the past 40 years. But then, Cameroonians have not benefited anything from his political power, because one of the benefits would have been is the alternance, the change in leadership, which we have not felt. So any political leadership that does not prepare others to take after them is a fake democracy. Oppositions in Cameroon now, like you have just said, we have 2 or 3 years to election. We are hoping that there should be a platform of coalition. The main opposition parties should come together and ignite an accord. There is always agreement. People should start making movement on how we come together, and they should know already who will be the leader among them. Why not? They get into negotiation with other small parties, how they integrate, and from there they can have a candidate. And I think very strongly that those who think they are the major opposition parties, at times it is a question on who become the leader of the oppositions. And some people will think, I have more voters than you, I have more parliamentarians. It doesn't matter. Remember, somebody, I will just quote an example like Gabriel Libi, who came and took a party that was not known, and the party represented to be the third in official results. Which means that at times the leader, the person who formed the party Univers, was not interested to stand, and Gabriel took over. We need to see who is having the level, who can measure up, who can level up with other political parties, not who was there. Sometimes we cried on this particular platform that Chairman Nijon Fundi need to give way to a young and more vibrant leadership. And we realized what it happened. It has taken SDF to a position that party had never had since 1992, which means the issue of youthfulness is not even a character of what the voters want. Some voters are die-hearted because of the leadership of the person who is at the top of SDF. But it will sound very strong that At the verge of this, maybe MRC, SDF, Univer, PNC, or whatsoever, they come together, and at one front, we don't realize that it is Gabriel Libi that has become the leader of such a platform. Can you imagine what it takes? It takes that the MRC leader, the SDF leader, the Univer, they have decided that Gabriel should stand. But it's going to be difficult. Opposition party in Cameroon think, like I said here, that they are egoistic parties, parties that are created because of hunger, and everybody wants to be identified. The moment they cannot have a candidate. In 1992, the same thing happened. Remember, a lot of division. In 2018, we saw that a lot of negotiations that were made towards forming a coalition for opposition could not still succeed. And we still allow, or we leave it to the hands of the Almighty, that the history of Cameroon should try to turn over in 2025. We might have suffered enough. We are unable to eat. We are unable to have good drinking water. We need a manifesto that answers the worries of Cameroonians within deadlines, not the one of declaration of big dramatic expression, grand realization, grand ambition, point d'achèvement. All these things have brought us nothing. We need an agenda which at the end of the year, our president, like Samuel told it, 6 months after entering office, can the president boast of that in my manifesto, people can now drink water in Golomeduka, and that there's electricity in Wum, and that the whole Menchum is now tagged. Can we give such statistics? This is the type of manifesto, and this is the type of leadership that Cameroonians are waiting for.
Paddy Asanga, do we actually understand what it takes to create a coalition, and how do we get to effectively getting one to work towards 2025?
Yes, Leo, I part with Dr. But I think that my friend, my good friend, is out of track in what he said. Because, you see, nobody, and I want to challenge everybody in your platform that today 85% of Cameroonians believe that federation is the solution. And even some within the Jacobini system, they also hold on to that notion of federation, even though they are not saying it, because they are bind to their party discipline. And when you listen to, when you have that picture in mind, then you have a different reading of the political scenario in Cameroon. And what is the political scenario in Cameroon? Some political parties, they have to reconstruct their political discourse around that federation that all Cameroonians want, and some Francophones and majority of Anglophones Cameroonians say that it should be an Anglophone president. That is what my friend Ndiwum doesn't understand. And it is a very sad thing that somebody of his intellect doesn't look at life from that perspective. I heard him talk about Agbobala, that Agbobala did right, center, and so on and so forth. This is the problem where Anglophones have, because they don't see prophets in their own. They want to find prophets everywhere. You understand that when Agbobala stood his grounds for federation and went to prison and came out, some people say that no, they have moved from federation to independence. Ask Ndiwum, where does he stand to talk about Agbobala in that light? Where does he stand to criticize Chairman Frundi and the SDF who have stood for federation and in that light since the 1990s? So it is intellectually dishonest and disrespectful, because it boils down to the point where we think that the problems of Anglophones is within Anglophones, and I think that we should have that discussion and bring the woman on this platform to talk about it. So now, you understood what we meant by on the platform One Cameroon. I think that you were briefed on that, Dr. John Ako, Ndiwum himself, Professor Alaka, Henriette Ikwe, and Kawala, Agbobala, Chairman Frundi, the SDF, and certain parliamentarians who are even of the CPDM. And they agree on that platform One Cameroon should talk about the federal system, because that's the spirit of the contemporary spirit, the spirit of the contemporary history of Cameroon today. So I don't know if Ndiwum is aware of that when he's saying all what he's saying, but I strongly believe that with a deep reflection, he will come back to his senses, because he's a brilliant, young, emerging man, but he needs some time to he should not do populism for populism. He should be able to make sure that he canalizes his idea and educate people who listen to him and educate people who are following your platform. So the possibility is there. I'm not in that politic of resignation. I would never resignate. I think that the way forward is not saying that an Anglophone president is going to win election and continue with the system. No. That Anglophone president is going to come out with a transition program for 3 years so that we have strong institution and we get to the federal system with some amendments. We are not going to hang on what was done in Fumban. That is not it is. That's why you have amendments in other constitutions. So if the CPDM wants to use its obese majority, they should be talking about a constitutional debate as they convocated the tripartite. But if they don't do that, those of us of the opposition, we should have a plan A, plan B, and plan C. And if you want to come and discuss plan A, plan B, and C, it will be propaganda. It will not it's not strategy, and I will not say any strategy here. I hope I would have answered your question. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Okay, Ndiwum, yes, certainly. I don't know. Now, if we have, but you describe them as Njangi houses, associations. Now, should the hope be now on civil society? At least you are part of the civil society.
For sure, for sure.
Yes. So how should the civil society push for a coalition?
I think not only the civil society. We have great politicians in this country, but we lack great political parties. So what I think is that everybody's rule. I partly agree with Paddy Asanga when he says we need a caucus. But the problem is who should be at the center of the caucus, because it has come up time without number and people have failed it. So I think the role of the civil society, religious bodies, and whosoever loves the country to move forward should be to sensitize ourselves about the errors that these political parties have done in the past. If we can be able to avoid these errors and think of a common goal, the goal that can push Cameroon forward and not a goal that can push an individual, I think that will be the starting point. It cannot be done in one day, but it can be done within a time frame. And to say that I castigate Frundi, no, I didn't say that. Frundi is a great man in the political history of Cameroon. But I think, like any human being, he blundered very badly, because the things he stood to oppose Mr. Biya for are the same things he has been committing till date. And of course, I think some of his party militants have equally failed him, because they have become praise singers, they sing wrong songs, misguiding him, thinking that they're taking him to the top. And that's how SDF met his doom. To end the program tonight, Mr. Leo, please, 1 minute. I want to appeal to the conscience of the government in Yaoundé. Little things bring down a nation, not great things. I don't understand. I think Dr. Ako John there may clarify me. I don't master the law very well, but I don't know the portion of the law that says in the war-torn zones like Northwest and Southwest, civilians should be removed from the cars, asked to clear grass by the roadside by the men in uniform before they can continue their journey. If you look at my palms here, I had to clear at Bello yesterday with a group of people under the military that we respect, and they are paid with our money. We are pulled out of the cars to clear. Those are things that we meet them occasionally, and we are asking the question, those who stay, who reside in these regions, how are they actually coping? And again, the elites of Northwest and Southwest, I will propose this one to Yaoundé tonight. They have been telling a lot of lies. This is a strategy I think if Yaoundé uses from this night, it will work. All those Anglophone elites hiding in Yaoundé, singing stop to the war in Northwest, let them be sent back to their respective areas of birth to stop all actions of Amber there. If actually those elites want Amber to cease, I think the government should use this strategy, and through this strategy they will discover those who are hiding in Yaoundé in the name of looking for peace, whereas they don't actually want peace. The elites are part of our problem in Northwest and Southwest.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all in the studio. The opposition party should start knitting a coalition. It is good to try things so that there can be shifts in paradigm. Thanks, Gilbert, writing from Fundong, Boyo Division. Good evening, Mr. Liu. My name is Bazin. There are many things to fix in this country, okay? Good evening, sir, to everyone in the studio. Keep doing the good work. You are the voice of the people. I really encourage you people to keep doing the work. May God I will really bless you people. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate, sir. Prosper, writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Prosper. Good evening to you all in the studio. Bringing an Anglophone as the next president in a peaceful Cameroon like this will be a big failure, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. Stop calling. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the entire team. Anglophone's president is in Cameroon is extremely difficult, if not impossible. We have associated with a lot of Francophones, both senior ones and commoners. Okay, he's writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This Mr. Is okay. Is insult personalities. Okay. NS is writing from Bambalang. NS, okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The sound quality today is not the best. Yes, but it was fixed later on. Good evening. I'm Andrew from Bamenda. The time for opposition coalition is now. But unfortunately, everyone is wasting precious time condemning the mobilization of the party. Beating the incumbent in elections needs advanced and sophisticated planning in mobilizing voters, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the program. My only problem about Anglophones coming together to me, it is difficult because we can't hold any meeting in Cameroon since we shall need authorization from the DO, who is the representative of the head of state, of which it is not going to be possible. Emmanuel, writing from Anyajwa Bello, subdivision. Okay. I love your program, Prime R, and I got this link from Facebook, okay? I'm not a professional in any field, but a concerned Cameroonian. Can I have a chance to be part of your live debate on Prime R? Yes, you can be very, very welcome here. Anybody who thinks that they want to participate on Prime R, call me, I will give you the opportunity. Ma Sylvie from Mile 4, I pray God cover all of you there with the blood of Jesus from the evil one. Amen. To that, Ma Sylvie, we have come to the end of today's edition of the program. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, it's a pleasure being here once more. I crave the indulgences of all Cameroonians that there's a need for change, and that 2025 is not of a particular person, but a call of all Cameroonians. Why not to seek or sort for ways through which we can make a better country? Okay. Cameroon is dying. Cameroon is withering. Can we still stand that nation we knew before 1982?
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Leo. The driver is already sleeping on the steering. It is time for a new driver to take off.
Okay. We also want to say thank you to you, Paddy, for coming today.
Yes, Leo, I want to thank you. My time for Akko John Akko. Thank you for your initiative. And I am saying this, we gave our moral authority to the national dialogue. And anytime soon, we'll be there to follow up and hold these people to the task. And I don't want anybody to get into the politics of resignation. We have to keep talking. We have to keep putting pressure on the system. And whenever we are called or whenever the need arises, we'll stand there to ask them, what about the resolutions? What is special about the special status? What is the content of the special status, and how different is the special status of the Northwest and Southwest region from that of those who never wanted to become Cameroonians? That is where the debate is, and that's where why we are talking about alternation and the necessity of an Anglophone candidate. We need your media for that. we need our brothers and sisters to rethink the strategy that they took so that we as Cameroonians together who voted collectively to become part of Cameroon can also vote ourselves to get a federation and stay in the United Republic of Cameroon or the Federal Republic of Cameroon. That is the spirit of our forefathers, and we need an Anglophone president. I insist, Leo.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you too, Eli and Desmond for producing. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
C'est bon pour aujourd'hui.